It's my phone. We're
Yeah.
live.
Okay.
Let's start the countdown. Just stop it.
Now can y'all hear us?
Who that? Put in the comments. She said she can't hear you.
Now can y'all hear us? I did something. Now can y'all hear us?
Who that? Put in the comments. She said that's my mom. She can hear us.
Oh.
Let's come into the room right now. So, whew. All right.
Now can y'all hear us? No, just stop it.
She said she can't hear you. All right, cool. They hear you now. They hear us. They hear us. All right, guys. I'm so sorry about these technical difficulties. I'm so sorry about everything that's going on right now. All right, guys. I'm so sorry about these technical. There we go. I'm so sorry about all of that stuff, guys. I promise y'all, man. You know, it's been a rough day for me. And getting this going, but like I said, I wasn't fitting to let this thing stop what we gotta do. I figured there's got to be something amazing that's going to be done from this episode because it was so hard to get it rolling, right? So I think something super dope and super amazing is going to come out of this. If you guys are watching, if y'all can do me a huge favor, because my personal page is actually locked down. So anybody watching, if you can do me a real huge favor, go and share this on your page. You share this on my page. Please do that for me. It'll be a huge favor. I really appreciate it. Facebook actually locked my account down yesterday for using the phrase jokingly with my friends, ugly Negroes. So I hadn't been able to get released, and then they locked my backup account down. Yeah, you know, all right, I'm hearing that people saying that. I see some comments coming in saying they can't hear me. Now I see some text. I got a text saying that you can't hear me. So I'm a little confused.
And like the people, I feel like the guests can't hear you, but everybody else can.
All right,
so they're just like switching back and forth.
Can y'all hear me now, guys?
Oh wait, here, let me unmute you on your phone. Say something.
Can you hear me? All right. I'm so sorry about these technical difficulties, but we just gonna roll with it. And Deanna, Nicole, and Focus, if you guys can hear me, just let me know if you can or not in the private chat. Let me know what they say in the private chat too.
All right.
So what am I doing? All right, so I'm a little behind right now, but what I will say is, oh, you got my mic muted. That might be why. There you go. I'm a little behind.
I just muted it.
Yeah, I muted it. I'm on from my phone too. So
okay.
I'm a little behind right now, but I'm gonna dive into this. Thank you guys for joining. I apologize about the technical difficulties, guys. That happens sometimes, but this is the season 1 finale. So we're gonna wrap it up with a very powerful episode where we get what I like to describe describe as a true story behind the bitterness, right? So if you caught my episode a couple of weeks ago, I had some men talk about their take on it, and this time I want the ladies to do the same. So we're going to talk about the true story behind this word bitterness that we so freely throw around to one another, about our women, that oftentimes we've played a role in the exact quote unquote bitterness that we've caused them. So I want to talk about that. I have 3 wonderful, wonderful women who have agreed to, come on and share their experiences and share their journey. Before I get into that, again, allow me to reiterate that this is season 1 finale. This will be the last episode until January 13th. So I thank you guys who have been with me on this journey, because we started out way back in April of this year. And, here we are in December, still going strong. And I think that says a lot. So I thank you guys for your commitment to me. I thank you guys for your commitment to the show. And I honestly couldn't be in the position that I am without your constant support. Without further ado, I don't want to take too much time rambling and ranting about the show and why I did it. I want to go in and bring on my amazing guests. So first and foremost, my first guest I want to introduce, she is the host of Cakes and Conversation. Her show airs on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. She just had an amazing episode yesterday about toxicity. I can't pronounce that word. We all got them words in the English dictionary that we can't pronounce well. Toxic. When she come on, she'll say it, but y'all know it's toxicity. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. That's one of my words that I just can't pronounce, guys. But she just did an amazing episode on that. She's an amazing woman. She's queen of the acronyms, as I like to tell her all the time. And I want to bring on the beautiful Deanna Shante. Deanna.
Hey.
Can you pronounce that word for me, please?
Toxicity.
Can you please pronounce that word?
Toxicity.
I got a list, man. You can't be giving me too many words with that sound. Toxicity and phlebotomy. Those are the 2 words that I struggle with pronouncing. So
toxicity.
I'm out of school already. I don't need that.
I know how to pronounce it before she even said the word.
But Deanna, I'm really, really glad that you could join. Thank you for kind of, I'm honored to have you on. And if you guys might recognize Deanna, because I was actually on her show a couple of weeks ago. And what is it? You scratch my back, I scratch your back. That's what they say. So I'm really, really honored. I'm really honored to have you on. So my next guest, she's giving me a bio, and I'm gonna try not to embarrass myself while reading actual words. So I'm gonna read this. She's an experienced motivational speaker, relationship life coach, and the author of Focus of Love, and the co-author of Harness the Power of Purpose: How to Monetize Your Business and Personal Journey. She went to Temple, just like myself, in Philadelphia. She's molded into a woman of love, acceptance, and peace. She has gathered the experiences of her past and testimonies of her present to continue her lifelong mission to empower young girls, women, and men spiritually, emotionally, and financially. She's the CEO of the Focus of Love, named after herself, Insights, which offers insights of healing in all phases of life. And she's just an amazing woman who's very transparent. And every time I've met her, like I've gotten a very good vibe from her. So I want to bring on Focus James. Focus.
I'm trying to hit that note. I'm a little hoarse right now, but hey everyone.
You hit the high note. I was just watching that show on Netflix, Voices of Fire. I don't know if you saw it. It's like about the gospel choir they put together, and they all sing a whole bunch of high notes. And I think you might, need to go on there hitting them high notes like that.
I can get on the show. Hi, everybody. You guys know I come to Chantel to get my daughter's hair done. So we are here right now. We'll be transitioning, shortly. So if you see me moving a little bit, don't worry about it, guys. I'm right here with you.
Oh, no, that's all good. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. I hear my voice now. I don't know why that is.
And last but not least, allow me to bring on. I call her all the time the superwoman. Like she's always saving the world. She does so much good work in the community, so much good work as far as like political stuff is concerned, and so much.
Unfortunately, I can't hear you, Maurice, if you're talking to me.
You clicked it. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Came back in. Yeah.
There we go. So she's always out saving the world. She's always out doing the good work. She's a lawyer. She's a mother. She's an amazing friend. She's an amazing person. She's one of the sweetest women I've ever met in my life. And I haven't even met her in person yet. So I want to bring on the beautiful Nicole Scott, all the way from cold Chicago. How you feeling, Nicole?
She muted.
Oh, she muted.
Yeah.
Can you unmute her?
Okay. Did I unmute myself?
Right. There you go. You good.
Okay. Thank you for the kind words. You're too kind.
No,
I am happy
I
to be here.
That you're saving the world.
Yeah, I know.
I'm no liar. I'm many things, but a liar is not one of them. No, man, but thank you, ladies, for kind of suffering through the technical difficulties that we had and the attack that's going on, and even taking some time to pray with me pre-show. I've only prayed before one other episode, and that was when I had ladies on before. So maybe I need to make it a trend of bringing women on because I like to pray, and I need all the prayer I can get in my life. All right, so look, we are a little behind schedule, so I'm not even going to take too much time rambling at this point. Let's just dive into that first question. Let's just dive into that first question, guys. Tell me your story. Talk about your experiences with men, some of the hurt that you personally experienced, how you felt when you were feeling that hurt, and how it's impacted you. Just dig into that. Whichever one of y'all want to take it first.
Well, I guess I'm the only one that can hear you right now, so I will. I will start. I always say that I think that it starts from your father, right? And so, my experience is my father was deported when I was 1 year old. I've seen my father twice in person. I talked to him often, but that didn't start until I was about 14, 15. And so that's kind of where my story starts. I've had a rough time with dating and men. I seem to always attract people that need me to help them in some type of capacity, whether it's help them financially, help them get on their feet, right? It's always men with potential who just can't seem to reach their potential. So I always have to try to push them to reach that potential. And that's kind of been my history with men throughout my lifetime. And at this point, I'm tired of that. Because like you said, right, you always gotta save the world. I don't think I do, but most of my work in life is helping people, right? And so at some point, before my late grandmother passed, she was like, I don't want you to do I don't want you to do life alone. Like, you've worked hard to get where you are. I want you to help yourself. I want somebody to help you. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm tired of like always having to help and, always finding disappointment in men. And I kind of just want to come to a point where I'm with a teammate. So.
No, and I still think that you do the amazing work. And I don't know if you guys heard it earlier. She's actually a family law lawyer, so that's what she means. So she said she's always helping people. And again, if you've been with me since April, then you should recognize Nicole as a familiar face because we actually had an episode together where she was just giving advice. Any man that was willing to ask. So I think that the starting from being a child and the father hurt is very real. And I thank you for sharing that. Deanna, you want to take that question to tell your story?
She can't hear
Can
us.
you repeat? Can you repeat the question because I couldn't hear. So
Okay,
can you
no
repeat the
problem.
question?
Just tell your story. Talk about your experience with men, some of the hurt that you personally felt, your emotional state as you were experiencing that hurt. Just talk to me about it.
How much time do we have? That is the question. Okay.
I said, don't bash my gender, Deanna.
So, so my story is, I am a 40-plus-year-old woman. I know the 20.
I was
know.
gonna say
I
no
know.
way, no way.
I was like, she was
Girl,
30.
40 plus, okay? 40 plus. And I'm unmarried. I'm single. I do not have any children. And I was a late bloomer in terms of like relationships. I didn't engage in my first like serious relationship until I was in my 20s. So prior to that, all the like fundamental years that people kind of have experience with how to relate to the opposite sex and all those other things, I missed out on it. But unfortunately, I have a history of heartbreak. Like I'm like, why don't I have the story of relationships ending like, it's it's like a peaceful parting. It seems like everything was always drama with me. Everything ended in drama. And so now at the tender age of 40 plus, um, I have to constantly put myself in a position of being healed daily. Let's talk about that. Being healed daily so that I can obtain wholeness, so that I'm not jaded by all of the experiences that I've had. I'm a lover of love. I still believe in love. I'm not looking for love, but if it finds me, come on, find me. But my heart has been shattered before. I am, and I think Maurice may have. I'm not sure if you posted it or not, but I was engaged. My engagement was broken 10 weeks before our wedding date. And if anybody is familiar with the wedding world, like that's like the day before, basically, the day before, and so it left me confused. It left me broken, hurt financially, emotionally, all of those things. So, I've had a lot of bad experiences, but again, I do not generalize men. Don't believe that all men are terrible. I don't even believe ex is terrible. But it's a lot to talk about when we talk about the relationship between men and women and the heartbreak dealing with it.
Don't style me. Just leave that alone, bro. Yeah. I just lost like all my internet connection in the studio, so you always gotta have backup plan.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm still here. Can y'all hear me clearly? Like the whole internet in the
we
studio just went out, so I'm off of my cell phone again, like good old days.
yes, I actually can hear you better.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's even
yeah, it's actually better.
Oh, that's dope.
Okay.
So y'all can't see my cool beanie down, but I'm still here. But I'm here. I'm still here. So I was listening to you, Deanna. You were like a lover of love, and you had a history of heartbreak, and you were engaged at one point, and then my internet went out.
Okay. So I mean, the gist of what I was saying is that I do not I don't generalize men. I'm not in a male bashing position. I don't, I'm not hopeless. I'm very hopeful. And I've learned a lot about myself through all of these experiences. In particular, this last experience, I've learned a lot about myself. And you mentioned how on my season finale last night on Cakes and Conversation, we were talking about toxicity and toxic relationships. And the one thing that I've come to learn is that it takes two people to be in a toxic relationship, and that I had a lot of toxic traits myself that contributed to the way that my relationships went. I'm not taking off any responsibility from anybody else, but I own something myself.
Well, I think that's good. That's real, and I think that that's major. I do think that there's a role that both genders do play. But I will say that I don't want to talk about y'all tonight. We talked
I
about y'all
can't,
2 weeks
baby.
ago.
Please
We
let
get a
me
chance to
work.
talk about us this time around. So, focus. Can you hear me clearly?
Hello, everyone. I didn't hear you, but I know the question is to tell kind of your story. Is that right? Give me a thumbs up, Maurice, if that's the case. Yes. Okay, so you can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I heard like the Negro spirituals, right? Hey, everybody. This is Focus from the Focus of Love. And yes, I've been through some stuff. I walked into church at 16 years old because I had just found out that my father at the time, I was told he actually committed suicide. So I walked into church looking for a covering in God and asking, for a father figure. But I think Satan answered because about a year and a half later, I was walking down the aisle getting married, right? So it was really devastating because I went in looking for God and protection and a place of safe haven to rest and get and understand, kind of life. Like, why would this man leave me? Why would he take his life, right? But instead, I got kind of exposed to a church that was already in pain because of broken relationships, hence what we're talking about right now. So several of those church members, there was adultery going on, people having children out of wedlock. So I walked in a state of urgency in that church where people were getting married off very quickly because they was trying to prevent adultery and people having children out of wedlock. So unfortunately for me, I was just kind of bombshelled into that. So I found myself at 18, I'm married. 22, I have a child. About 24, now I'm a first lady of a church, right? Now, mind you, I didn't even get healed yet, but I'm all of these things so quickly, and it's unfortunate, that actually happened. Now, doesn't mean these people don't love God, but what it means is this subject matter is necessary, because if you don't heal the hurt, you will absolutely repeat the pain. Whether you Muslim,
Okay.
whether you a Jew or a Christian, you
Okay.
gotta heal the hurt, and that's why we're talking about this right here today. So I found myself, my pastor husband had an affair with the nanny who was also the armor bearer of the church. So the goal of what they were trying to do still didn't get satisfied because they didn't heal the hurt. They was just trying to cover up and push people through. So in my experience, it took me about 10 years to heal from that. I walked around like a pit bull bleeding on anybody that would listen to that story. Listen, if you was pumping gas next to me, you got that story. I would tell you, church people ain't, y'all fill it in. And pastors can't keep their thing in their pants, right? I would tell you about it. I'm on the other side of it now, and this is why I'm here tonight to share with you guys about where the bitterness can come from. And if you don't see no end at the, no light at the end of the tunnel, you can actually get stuck there and stay bitter. So that's why I'm here today to share with you guys about that journey and that, that whole process of getting on the other side. Back to you, Maurice.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That was real good. You in there talking
Thank
your
you.
talk, girl.
Yes.
Let's go on to the second question. Go somewhere, man. Sorry. Intern
He said,
came
I'm
in.
going to be a part of this. He said, I'm going to be a
Right.
part of this.
You go get your plug, bro. I got you. Why do you guys think that men are so quick to throw that term bitter around?
Yeah, great question. We just saw the whole reunion of Janet Huber and Will Smith. And they've been calling that woman bitter for 27 years, not really knowing the backstory. This woman was really crying out for an apology, asking him to address the breakdown of that whole show that literally ruined her entire career for 27 years. So many people suffer from secondary trauma. So just watching that right there, let alone our own individual lives. But I think the country and us as a people has some similar healing just watching that union, that Will was able to take responsibility of what he allowed happen, whether he did it directly or not. Right. But but this woman was called bitter for 27 years. People was telling her, go sit down somewhere. He didn't move on. But the reality is her pain was still real. She was still hurt and her career got stopped. And so just because he moves on without the apology or the healing process that's necessary, you can be bitter. So then, but because you moves on, don't mean I still don't need to heal from the situation. So it's just easier to call me bitter than for you to be better and come back and fix that thing, even though you move on. So it's just easier to just call names, is what that is.
She said it's easier to say bitter than you to just be better. Look at that.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
come on, fix the thing.
Go ahead, Deanna, take that. I see you talking.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely correct. I think that what happens is people have and it's not a gender specific thing. It's people in general. We have a hard time owning things and taking ownership and responsibility, and it's always more comforting and it's easier to transfer that onto someone else. So instead of me taking responsibility and ownership for my actions, it's easier for me to analyze your response to my actions and then highlight that to take the focus off of me. I think oftentimes men are in positions where they have caused a lot of hurt, they've caused a lot of disappointment, they've caused a lot of pain, and much of that is birthed out of their own hurt, disappointment, and pain. And so they don't want to face that, they don't want to deal with that, and it's easier for them now to shift the focus onto you and to say, well, you're bitter. You know what I'm saying? I think bitter is a comforting term for men because it takes responsibility. I'm not in a position of fault. It's just you are. You're bitter. I think that's why. I think that's where that term comes from. Is that it's comfort for a man and or woman to shift the blame, to shift the responsibility.
Well said.
Nicole, you got anything to add on to that?
Nope, they hit that right on the head.
and honestly, and it's not even to say that the woman isn't bitter, because let's just be real. Let's just be honest. There are some times where you are left in a bitter state, where you mad as I don't know what. You bitter, and you out for revenge, and I'm gonna get mine, and I'm gonna get you, and how dare you? But at the same rate, I think from a man's perspective, I think it definitely cripples a man for one to just dismiss it as she's bitter and not to again go and analyze and focus on, or at least look at, well, what role did I play in her bitterness?
Exactly. I'm gonna pick up right off of that. Exactly. I was counseling a gentleman who he was saying we're gonna have to end this relationship. He said because she don't want to do her womanly duties. I mean, even if she cook every now and then, I would be more happy. And she's always into her business. I said, I got that. I said, let me ask you a question. Why would she say the relationship is about to end? He said, I don't know. I said, well, let me tell you, that's one of the reasons why. Because if you've been together 3 years and you don't know her point of view, she's already shut down. You're not listening to her. You're not in tune with her. So that's your responsibility. Ain't nobody want to cook with somebody that's not even paying me emotionally attention. You void me out. You don't know where I'm at, but you want me to make a 5-course meal. Now, I'm not talking about tit for tat. I'm talking about having your love bucket filled, because when your love bucket is filled, you're more willing to fill somebody else's love bucket. So if you don't even know how to fill my love bucket, but you putting your orders of chicken wings, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, and yams in, right? I'm not ready to fill that void. And it's a process when there's, just like it was a process to get to the bitterness, it's a process to get to the healing, to the stage of love and romanticizing. So just because you came home and told me, Pastor John Gray, that don't mean it ain't a process. See, the people got to heal. Maurice, you need me to catch you up on that? You know what's up with Mr. Gray?
I'm good. I don't need to know that. That's getting off subject, man.
No, it's right on subject. We talking about bitterness.
State. I care nothing about public events. We're going to focus on the emotional thing, and we're going to stay there.
That's but here's what we have to get. People are watching that. People are watching that. And a lot of people, look at TV as their reality is what I'm suggesting. And that when we see certain things in life that dominates our social media, it needs to be addressed. That's why we're using social media, because we're hoping people watching this and having aha moments for their life. So I only brought that up to make that point, that there's a process to healing. So just because you apologize doesn't negate the person still being bitter. You have to, there is a bridge that has to be gapped, is what I wanted to suggest.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. Like, I was talking to a young lady who runs her own singles group a few weeks ago, and she was telling me, like, we hear that word, she's bitter, and it's like, oh, what's she supposed to be? Like, in some cases this woman has been left to raise a child by herself. In some cases this woman was left at the altar. In some cases, you physically abuse this woman, verbally abuse this woman. These are real realities that women are living in. Women have faced as a direct result of some of our actions, which is not to say, like Deanna said, that every woman that ever walked this earth is innocent and hasn't done anything. That's not what I'm saying. But what I will say is that, like, the hurt that some men have caused, and I say some, I'm going to emphasize some because all men haven't done it. Some men have caused very, very real hurt to Black women in particular. And for me, I this is something I want to live, right? So like this is something, like, before I did this episode, there were some people I had to call and apologize to because I couldn't come up here live and talk about the hurt that men have caused women with some women out here that I personally hurt, still unresolved and still walking around that. So there were some people I had to call earlier this week and just say, look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't in an emotional state at that time to give you what it was that you deserved, to give you what it was that you needed, to treat you the way that you needed to be treated. Because I don't want to be hypocritical. So that's just me. But I recognize a lot of people aren't there yet, right? Because I think, like you guys said earlier, it's a lot easier to say, oh, you did this, you did this, you did this, to accept, like, no, I was in the wrong. And now, with me in the wrong, that's a whole nother episode. I won't dig into that, but I do think that that's really real. I think you were trying to say something, Nicole, before I went on my little rant.
No, I wasn't.
All right, so we're gonna keep going on in the conversation. Go ahead, Deanna.
I think too, bitterness has acquired this negative connotation. Whereas I like to honestly view bitterness as a stop on the road to healing. It's almost like when you're on the highway and on interstate and they have the rest stop, right? I like to view bitterness as a rest stop on the road to healing. And I think what happens is, unfortunately, some of us stop at that rest stop and we get comfortable there and we get still there and we pitch a tent there. I don't know if you've ever seen, sometimes you see like RVs at the rest stop where people are sleeping there, and you're getting comfortable in that situation, and then it becomes it's like your state of being. I think that anybody naturally, you have a natural response to something abrasive that happens to you, right? So something, it's a hurt, it's a pain, it's a disappointment, it's a betrayal. My natural instinct, I'm gonna be affected by that in some kind of way, and that might be my bitter moment. But if it had made up in my mind that I'm going to heal, then I'm not a bitter woman. I just had a bitter moment, and I think we need to give ourselves grace to have a bitter moment. That's not who I am. Like, I was angry. I'm not an angered woman, but I was angry in that moment, or I was angry for that week. I'm not in a state of mourning, but I did grieve, for a minute. And I think that, if we embrace it, like, it's okay. I was bitter for a minute, to be quite honest. I was bitter for a moment, but that's not who I am. I don't walk in there. I don't talk in there. I don't live in there. And I think we need to allow women grace to be bitter for a moment, because I think it's part of the healing process.
Yeah. It's a spam comment that popped up. Yeah, Slim, I don't know who that is, but that darn sure is spam, and I'll delete that once I get offline. But I'm afraid I'm gonna click the wrong thing on my cell phone and mess everything up again. So y'all just go ahead and ignore Mr. Baba there.
Okay.
But no, I like again. I just wholeheartedly agree with everything that you guys are saying. I think that bitterness is not just delegated to relationships as well, right? Like
Oh
I could
yes.
vividly remember being in college and coming out of my senior year in college and applying and going on 4 interviews with Enterprise Rent a Car. And to this day, I won't shop at Enterprise Rent a Car because I went on 4 interviews with them and they didn't hire me. Like, like so it's not just delegated to relationships. Like I'm not doing it. Like I won't do it. There's some restaurants that have given me bad service. Or there are some employers that have treated me wrong. There are some male relationships that I've had that have gone wrong. That I'm like, nah, I don't. I'm not doing it. I'm not interested in going down that road anymore. So I think bitterness is not just relegated to male, female, or male on male, and or romantic relationships in general. I think that it's in all aspects of life. I think that the and I also think that men get bitter too. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, but I'll just throw it out there. Like, men are bitter too. We hide it better. Men's bitterness doesn't really look like what women's bitterness looks like. And maybe that could be a future episode down the road. Male bitterness versus women bitterness. Male bitterness typically comes out in womanizing and self-destructive behaviors like, excessive drinking and things like that. That's how we express our bitterness. Right? But I feel like for women, it shows itself differently. So I think that it's a little more noticeable. If you guys would agree with me, when a woman is, I guess, quote unquote, bitter, than it would be with a male, because like the things that males do as a direct result of bitterness are kind of celebrated in the male community versus the things that a woman who may be bitter, who are maybe recovering from some sort of hurt, the way that they might express it is not frowned upon versus the way that men accept. Like if I'm bitter and I'm hurt and I go sleep with a bunch of women, my homies are cheering me on, right? If you're bitter and you're hurt and you go sleep with a bunch of men, then you become a hoe, a whore, any old kind of names. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that that's fair at all. So yeah. So let's just keep the conversation going. Nicole, I don't want you to be quiet,
Yes.
just so I'm about to pick on you next. But just talk about your experience with this term bitter, right? Like I know you're a mom and you're no longer with the father of your child, and even like from your place of employment, right? Like you're taking cases of family law all the time. Like how often would you say those cases are even coming in because like this is a real issue that can't be sorted out, or these are just misplaced emotions, right? That can't be sorted out. So talk a bit about some of those.
So most of the cases that come are as a result of misplaced emotions, right? Most of people are emotional, which is understandable, right? Like you've been through a bad breakup, you thought this relationship was going to go one way, it didn't, it went another way. But as a result, you have a child from the situation, and now the child is stuck in the middle of this bitter cycle, right? And I have a lot of times I have to sit down with people, and I'm like, listen, your fight is not illegal. Your fight is not, ethical. Your fight is emotional. You are bitter. I will tell them that. Like, you are bitter and you're acting out of bitterness. And as a result of that, you're not thinking logically, right? So that's why I'm here. So I can think logically for you. But you got to step back and you got to really think about what's in the best interest of you, what's in the best interest of your child. And you got to work to the healing, right? You got to work to heal. And first is recognizing that this is the emotion that you're acting out of. And I think that, it goes into personal life too. We all have bitter moments. Like, Deanna said, we all have these bitter moments, and you have to recognize what the moment is. As it relates to like my child's father, yeah, we're not together. But the thing is, we were never equally yoked, right? So I have to, when you deal with separating yourself from people, you have to understand what the situation was and what it, was supposed to be, what your expectations were, and were they reasonable. That goes into the healing process. So I'm not upset. I'm not bitter. I don't even think I experienced bitterness when we separated because, again, we were not equally yoked. And so it was more so of a situation where, we met. I kind of was at a rough time. He was cool. We was good friends. We laughed. To this day, we can be good friends. Laugh, joke, kiki. But a relationship, there's things that I needed him to do that he was just not able to do. And that's okay, right? Again, this is where I'm at in life. This is where he is in life. And you have to walk away from that. Now, him in male bitterness, right? I can tell that he still suffers a
Be
lot.
careful. Be careful.
Listen, I'm not going into too much detail because his whole family is on Facebook, so I'm not going
Hey,
into.
you know, Nicole, my mute button is strong. So
Listen, I'm not going into too much detail, but again, like you said, you see that in differences, right? Like, and women will say it, will verbally be like, yeah, like she's like Focus said, if you're at the gas station, you're gonna hear about my story. I remember I used to date, and I had a bad breakup in college, and I was just like, any guy who would talk to me, I would make it a means to be like, yeah, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me, and da, 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 da. And I go back and I laugh at it now because I'm like, girl, what were you doing? But it's that moment, right? I'm not a bitter person now, but in that moment, I was very much upset. But so going back to kind of your point, like, you know, my daughter's father, the way he's expressed his, you know, bitterness of our relationship is much different than the way I've expressed it. And so again, and I tell him all the time, like, you know, I don't want you to stay in that, like, we didn't work out, okay, cool, but I don't want you to stay for yourself, for your sake, for your daughter's sake. I don't want you to stay in that moment. Like, I want you to learn from the situation. It wasn't a mistake. We have a beautiful child out of it. Let's grow from that. You personally, me personally, you know, so that we can be the best for our daughter. So.
And that's heavy. And I think that I do want to visit this. And I know I sent you guys a question, and I know in the little message I sent you, I said we straight sometimes. Salima actually put a good comment up that I do want to spend some time talking about. It's only 3 words, but it says bitter or hurt. And I think I do want to talk about that. Like when what is hurt and what is bitterness? Like when do you leave like hurt avenue and go on a bitter road? Like are they the same thing? You know? Go ahead, Deanna. I see you got your finger up. Go ahead.
So because I was thinking about this earlier. I'm really big on words, and I believe that words have power. And at its core, bitterness, to be bitter, simply means to be hurt, to be resentful, to be angry. That's it. And I think that, you know, we have this way culturally. We have this way of taking words and giving them and they mean something else. Because I was going to ask the question, what does bitterness mean to everybody on here? Because this is at the core, this is what bitterness is. So when you say I'm bitter, you're saying I'm hurt. But again, we've given this negative connotation to the word bitter, and bitter has been given a face. Bitter has been given like you doing too much. Like, you know, bitter looks like, you know, you taking things too far. Bitter looks like can't nobody say anything to you. Bitter looks like you putting everybody in a category. You're guarded. You got a wall up. Bitter looks like you walk and live in a fence. But at the end of the day, it simply is being hurt. So this is why from my perspective and based on my experience, I said that I believe bitterness is a part of the process. It's on the road to healing. Because if there was an offense, there's naturally the fact that I denote it as an offense, I naturally am going to be hurt by it or jaded by it in some kind of way. And so bitterness is on the road. And I don't know why men in particular, they make us feel like we wrong for being bitter, or we're like aliens, or like, oh my gosh, women are, you know, I'm hurt. That's what bitterness is. I'm hurt. I think what happens is, I think where the shift is, why we tend to differentiate between somebody just being hurt and somebody being bitter, is I think it's when it goes from I'm having that moment, like I talked about, to it literally is affecting every part of my life. And now I'm stuck in it. And I think that's when it shifts. I think that's when we start to say, oh, no, she's bitter.
Absolutely. I agree 110%. I think, like she said, it's just definitely, it's a part of the healing process. And it definitely is, like you said, being hurt. You know, we think of hurt as a state of being, like, I am hurt right now. Bitterness is like, okay, everything that you do, everything about you is stemming from this hurt. So now you become a bitter person. And I think that's so there's not a difference in the word. It's just time frame, I guess you would quantify it as, right? So.
Yeah. And I agree with you guys, where I think that it's natural that there's going to be some phase of bitterness. Because in a lot of cases, let's be real, like there's a dream. Like that's a loss of a dream. A
Yeah.
loss of a dream
Yeah,
is not
absolutely.
easy to deal with.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not. You know, like if
Yeah.
you was listening last week, my longest relationship was 14 years. When that thing ended, like I don't just bounce back like, oh, whatever, I'm single, I'm fine. There's going to be some hurt related to that. There's going to be,
Yeah.
you know, there 14 years and the child came out of that relationship. So there are going to be some misplaced emotions that even to this moment, to today, that I'm still working through, that I'm sure she's still working through. Because
Yeah.
I'm 32. I was with somebody for 14 years. Like, so that's literally,
Yeah.
you know, like my entire like adult life practically, you know. So there's
Yeah.
naturally going
Yeah.
to be some emotion and bitterness and hurt and things like that. I
Yeah.
think the how it differs, I think we're all hurt, right? Like in some aspect of life. But I think bitterness comes when you start to weaponize that hurt
There you
to
go.
to
Yeah.
to, I guess, for lack of a better term, injure or to hurt the person who caused it. So I think that's what the difference is. Like we're all hurt. So bitterness becomes when you start to
Yes.
weaponize it. So that might look like, oh well, if there's a child involved, like no, you can't see your child. Or no, I don't want you to I don't want to talk to you no more. Oh no, don't bring no other
Right.
girl or no other man around my child. Like those are actions because it's misplaced hurt, right? You know, I said something yesterday to one of my good friends because I was angry when I couldn't go on the Facebook. And I was like, you know, anger is nothing but misplaced passion, right? Like that's all anger is. Like you're passionate about something and you just are misplacing it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
bitterness, same thing, is just misplaced hurt. So you got to find some way to channel that hurt and like
Mm-hmm.
heal it and then let it go. Like I think
Yeah.
that's the hardest
Yeah.
part of it. That let it go, right? Like I see you smiling, Deanna. It's like you take it, you feel it. You gotta really feel it, like really feel it. And like I mean, like sometimes you gotta turn with all the TVs off, turn the radio off, turn the social media off, not talk to your friends, like put the bottle down. Like you really gotta sit there and feel it and acknowledge
Yeah.
this hurt me. Period. I am
Exactly.
hurt right now. And if I don't address this, it's going to cause me to weaponize this hurt, not only to inconvenience the person who caused it, but any other person who may come into my life afterwards, because it starts to get misplaced again. Like it becomes misplaced. Now I'm mad because my ex did this, so when I get in with the next woman, she can't get. You know,
Right.
she won't experience this part of me. And same thing for you guys. Like
Exactly.
you know, like
Exactly.
I can't. I'm not going to do this with another man. I'm not going to do this with another man because the last man did that. That's why you got to
Exactly.
feel that crap and let it go. I'm in the church, so I don't want to curse, but sometimes when I get passionate, I
Yeah.
start to
Yeah.
curse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a cursing Christian, just so you know, Maurice. I'm a cursing Christian. Praise the Lord. So, but what we're talking, let me weigh in on that because it's hurt as a life coach, as a relationship coach, right? There's hurt and there's bitterness. It's the equivalent of having a wound and then having an infection.
Mm.
So you could be wounded, you pained, right? There's something that's cut you, that hurt you, but allowing it to sit there untreated, it becomes an infection. So you start spilling over, it starts stinking. So when you stood next to me in the gas station, I was stinking. You just came to Wawa to get your Slurpee and fill up in the gas, but I stunk all over you because I had to tell you about my infection at that point. It just went too far. So it's definitely a stage, but there's nothing healthy about it because it's actually eroding my own being. And I love what you said that, Deanna, which is your own being is now who I was a happy-go-lucky person. I busted up. I make anybody laugh that walk by me. But I shifted to telling my story because I was so bitter at that point, right? So how do we heal from that? And you tapped on it, Maurice. So it's 4 steps to it. First, you got to acknowledge it. And then you got to really allow yourself to feel it. You got to be real. See, it was real because I wanted twins since I was 5 years old. And God allowed the nanny to have twins with my husband. I was devastated. Part of me wanted those twins to die. I said that to several of my girls. Is like, how fair is that, God? You're going to let the man cheat and then she going to bring forth my dream since I was 5? What kind of craziness is that, God? You know, I was angry with him. So that was that bitterness when you even want somebody other flesh and blood, and I tussle with that thing. I'm like, wow, I can't even believe I'm here. Right. So that was a wake up moment for me when I heard myself wishing these babies died so I didn't have to deal with it for the rest of my life, knowing they was walking this earth. See, I could hide, I could pretend or fake like he wasn't having an affair. But when the children was on their way, I couldn't see, I could hide the hurt. But now when flesh and blood is about to walk around, now it was in my face. I had to deal with the thing. It wasn't nothing I can get around it then. So I was like, God, please let them die. Can you imagine that prayer? Right? That is some definite hurt, no question about it. Right? But you gotta allow yourself to feel it all, then deal with it and then heal it. And I hear people say this, and no pun against you, Maurice, but there is no letting go. That's gonna always be right here. Emotional intelligence says, I know I was cheated on by that man, but that doesn't equal all men cheated. See, it don't go anywhere unless you have some kind of disease where you have short-term or long-term memory. It's gonna be right here. The 52 fake out is that it's not, and the 52 fake out is what do I do when it comes up? When my new husband, is 20 minutes late from work. Am I going back to 1999 when that old husband was late for work and it meant something else? See, it's to allow that emotion to come up and then deal with it and go, listen, this is a new husband. This is a new year. We ain't there. I love him. I trust him. I'm sure he's going to have an explanation when he gets home. So that's where that emotional intelligence lies inside of that healing. Because those thoughts are not going anywhere. Unless you get a big old bump on your head, it's going to be there. It's how are you going to deal with it when this feels like, is he cheating? That's where the difference between being hurt and bitter is, and how to actually deal with it. Back to you guys.
Back to you guys.
Back to you guys. I felt myself getting excited. I had to bring it down 1,000. I said, wait a minute, this is not the Focus and Love show. Let me get this back to Maurice right here. Right. I had to give it back to you, Maurice. I would have went 10 more minutes. I had to stop myself. It was feeling good. I love
it.
You know,
It's me in the flesh. Be honest.
So I know for me, and I understand what Focus is saying. But however, I'll say it, not but. However,
yes.
For me, the letting go, that terminology of letting go, is really releasing and not so much erasing. And I think that sometimes people view letting go as erasing. It never happened.
Exactly.
Isn't that other? But for me, letting go is releasing. And I've seen this happen. I've seen people take, and we all have seen it at some point in time, where you take, maybe you had a piece of fruit and the fruit had seed in it, and then you take that seed that you can't do anything with in and of itself, and you plant it. And when you plant it, you release it and you allow it to become what it's going to become. And I found that my experience with men, hurt, pain. Let me just burn something down to y'all. My first relationship, my ex, my first one, he got married on me. Didn't tell me he was getting married. I mean, lied to me the day of the wedding. Told me his child was getting like Christian baptized, one of them kind of things. I literally showed up to the church in front. I mean, it was Lifetime movie ready. Okay. Showed up in front of the church. I'm like, it looked like you got on a tuxedo. He's like, this ain't nothing but a rented suit, the whole nine. For several months, this man was married, and I did not know it. However, I was getting little hints, this is that and the other. Then, my next relationship, I was with a substance abuser for 10 years on and off. All kind of stuff happened in that relationship. I mean, I done been stripped of my clothes, kicked outside, butt naked. I
Mama,
mean,
give me that
all
water,
kinds of
please.
stuff. I had to release that. I'll never forget it, obviously, because I'm telling y'all about it. I could tell you all the details about it. But the pain and hurt that was associated with, that once was associated with, I had to let that go. I had to release that and plant it so that I could grow out of it, and a better version of me, or the next version of me, could grow out of it. And so I would like to encourage women, that have to rechannel that experience and that hurt. And no, you can't erase it, and you shouldn't erase it, because God allowed it, because it was needed. It was needed for you to become the next version of yourself. But you have to release. You have to release it and allow it to do what it was assigned to your life to do.
Yes.
The enemy thought that it was going to kill you. The enemy thought you was going to be on
Exactly.
depression medicine. The
Preaching, she
enemy thought that
preaching.
you was going to be on anxiety pills. The enemy thought you
Yes.
was going to be getting high every night or spreading your legs every night
Okay.
because everybody got a vice. Okay, that's what the devil thought. But God allowed it because he knew that it was a part of the recipe for you to become who you needed, your next version of yourself.
That girl preaching. You
Exactly.
just got a
I
whole
love
amen
it.
over here. I was about to shout for a second, Deanna, but
I felt
uh,
like focus. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
I'm afraid to move too much right now. My internet that already went out in the studio. I don't want to mess nothing else up.
Yes.
It's funny that you said that. I got a comment from Salima. She put in "Feel it, don't conceal it." Elsa from Frozen.
Yes.
I know you know it because we got young kids. So we probably don't watch Frozen 7,000 times.
Yes.
So look, you got your favorite girl. I know you know that song. But
Yeah.
you talk about letting it go. And I think that that's real. I think that I would agree with you, Deanna, where you don't forget it, like it doesn't go
Yes.
away. You deal with it better, though,
Correct.
right? So
Deal
whereas
with it. Yeah. Yeah.
before this made me mad, and I might go sleep with the next person or go drink heavily and take a bunch of shots. Now I just know, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna just relax today, or I'm gonna sit down, or I'm gonna just call the
Yeah.
fellas, spend some extra time with the kids, and you channel it into something more positive instead of like the negative energy. Um,
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Because the danger of trying to forget it, ignore it, act like it never happened, is that you more than likely will find yourself repeating that cycle and
Oh,
repeating that
absolutely.
process over
Mhm,
and over again. So you can't just
Absolutely.
forget it and act like it
mhm,
doesn't exist. I know this because I went through that. I was
mhm,
in
Yeah.
this constant cycle. Like I said, 10 years on and off with the same person. Why? Because I was constantly, as a coping mechanism, I decided to ignore. I'm going to forget that he
mhm,
did that last time. I'm going to forget about this. I'm going to forget about that. We always put forgiveness and forgetting together.
Yeah.
I can't
Absolutely.
ignore that it happened because now I'm not guarding myself properly. I'm not putting boundaries in place properly so that I don't constantly find myself in this vicious cycle.
Absolutely. And I think I love what you said about semantics, right, Deanna? And that is that words matter. I think what we're
Yes.
really saying is the necessity to metabolize it, to
Mhm.
allow the process of it to happen, because it's
Mhm.
there for a lesson, it's there for us
Mhm.
to have kind of a beacon of where we're going when we're going back to something that's dark. So keep it
Mhm.
real in the sense that this is something that happened in my life. This was a chapter I don't want to get back to. Who was I that got me there? So that you won't
Mhm.
keep revisiting that type of person. Now, we do got to address the fact that if we keep revisiting the type of person, we're the common denominator.
mhm,
Mhm.
So if you don't heal the hurt, you're going to just repeat the pain.
mhm,
Mhm.
So, so,
mhm,
so the bitterness can then inadvertently come to ourselves, where we keep blaming ourselves, our self-esteem will go down, our ability to trust ourselves or who to pick will go down. So that's the self-work that we have to get to, where most people have some kind of unanswerable question, which is, am I good enough? Am I lovable? And trauma attracts trauma. So if we don't deal with that trauma and we just want to step over it, we can, dye our hair, lose 50 pounds and move across the country. But there you are. You still took you where you went, right?
The moment she said dye your hair, I looked at Deanna and I knew she was about to give me something.
So honestly, guys, we got to do this work. It takes something. Listen, it took me thousands of dollars. I traveled 37 different states. I hired therapists. I hired life coaches because I knew inside, man, the pain was real. The disappointment in God was real. The disappointment in church folks was real. It was so many levels of hurt. It was so many levels of pain that happened and betrayal at that point. Because listen, if you're on this earth, you're going to be betrayed by someone. If you're on this earth, you're going to be traumatized. Now listen, if you've never been, then it's you doing the traumatizing. So you come a little closer and take some more notes, because that's just how it is on as humans. We're going to rub somebody the wrong way simply because we're all trying to work out our own soul, our own personality. What had happened was our childhood. So there's going to be some fault invoked on somebody by the way we laughed, the way we litigated, the way we discussed. Somebody's offended by now about the time we all talking in some way, right? So it's going to happen. But what we have to recognize is that proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. We can't keep jumping in these relationships. We haven't done any work. We haven't done any healing work. And we rolling the dice going like, oh, it's going to happen for me this time. Oh, yes, it is. Right? We got to slow down and speed up and really deal with that pain. It takes something. It takes something, but to have a juicy, scrumptious life where you can have some heated fellowship and then have some good sex, that takes practice. That takes emotional intelligence. And we can't be sloppy. We can't think and hope and wish that's going to happen. That's going to be by design. It's going to be by design. I'm not going to say back to you this time, Maurice. I'm just going to sit back. That's what I'm going to do right here.
Karima just put a really good comment up here. Trauma bonding is the downfall of connecting. And I think that's very, 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 very real. I don't even need to elaborate on that. That says it itself. We've all been there. You meet somebody, I'm complaining about my ex, Nicole, you complaining about your ex. And next thing you know, like, we got to build this whole relationship off of complaining about our ex and our past hurt. And then when like that kind of hurt kind of starts to subside some, right? Then we realize you don't got nothing in common except for the fact that we was both hurt by our exes, and like that's real. I switched the conversation over for the time sake. Oh yeah, just so you know, Deanna, I got a text. Somebody said blue hair talking the good stuff. I couldn't put it on the screen because it was a text, but somebody said blue hair talking good stuff to me via text.
Yes, blue hair.
Talking about me, but but so if you guys could give men one advice, you could tell men one thing about their treatment of women, what would it be? Nicole looked like she said one.
Like, where do you begin? I don't know.
I said no men bashing. My mute button is still strong.
I have not men bash. I love men. I would say that, and I don't know. The first thing I think about is that men, you should treat a woman how you want somebody to treat your daughter, right? Depending on, assuming that this person is a good father and they care about their children, et cetera, et cetera. But
yeah,
but I think it's very important, because when you think about how you treat women and then you think about your daughter coming to you and basically repeating what you've done. You're gonna want to do something about it, and you got to think that was somebody's other. So handle women, you have to handle them with care, just like you would want somebody to handle your offspring with care.
That's that was good stuff, and I think that's something that I kind of learned maybe like last year or so. I was like, I have to treat my son the way that my son will treat women is going to directly be how he sees me treat his mom. And the way that my daughter will think it's okay to be treated will be directly related to the way that I treat her mother. And with that, I had to check myself, so I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that I don't think people realize that. I would say from another perspective, I don't think you realize that. Especially if you don't got no daughter. Like once you get a daughter, a lot of that stuff like will go out the window. Turn that down, bro. Turn it down. Hamid, turn it down. I'm sorry, guys. This is watching YouTube. I mean, I just heard it real loud. But I think that that's something that's kind of lost, right? when you don't have a daughter, right? I've heard people say, like older guys say, "Oh, I can't date anybody." Like this, let's say you're in your 40s. I've heard guys in their 40s say, "I can't date anybody that's younger than X age because they remind me of my daughter. They're the same age as my daughter." Whereas if you don't have daughters, they don't care. Like they don't care. Like I don't care. I mean, that's not my struggle, but I do think that that's something that's parents in general. And to women, I would say the same thing, right? The way that your daughter is going to learn to treat men is how you treat her father. The way that your son is going to learn to be treated is how you treat his father. So I would say that as well. So I think that that's a real good word right there, Nicole. Real good word, Nicole. I told you I should be saving the world. Deanna, focus. If you could give men one thing of advice, one word of advice about how they treat women, what would it be?
I'll let Focus go. I'm trying to plug in my phone.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Well, I would have to take one step back, and that is that who are you as a man to yourself? Because I think that the flaw in how a man treats a woman is the injustice of how he sees himself.
Amen.
Right. So he hasn't become one with his body, soul, and spirit and recognize his own purpose. Because when you walk in purpose, there's a different level of integrity of how you treat other people. See, I think a lot of men and women are out of alignment of their purpose and why they're here on the earth. See, when you know why you woke up, when you know why you breathe, you can't be womanizing. It just doesn't match with your purpose, right? When you're clear that you're on this earth for a particular thing. See, I'm clear why I breathed. I'm clear why, unfortunately, my father suffered from mental health issues. So he tried to kill us literally for a year, guys. We had to travel from women abuse shelters and family members' homes escaping from him. Right. So I'm clear that I'm on this side of that tumultuous marriage where the pastor cheated with the nanny, and yet I'm still here with my mental faculties so that I can teach and share with people how to forgive. See, it took something for me to forgive my father. It took something for me to embrace that he had mental health issues, right? It took my inner work to now get on this side of it, because I could have just still be bitter at God. You allowed my father to die. He tried to kill us. Now you let me marry this man, and this man had twins by the neck. I could still be pissed off at God, but from his grace and mercy, allow me to forgive him, knowing that he does all things well, allow me to forgive myself in the participation. Now I recognize that I breathe to help other people to forgive. See, I recognize my mission is to help people heal the hurt so they won't repeat the pain, so they can get the love they want and have the life they love. See, living from your mantra, your purpose, you're not saying stuff out of your mouth. You're not infringing on people on purpose. It doesn't mean you won't, but you're going to quickly stand up to the integrity of who you are in this world and why you're here, and you're going to address it. So I think the missing piece more than how I treat a woman is who am I? Who has God allowed me to be on this earth, and stand up to that. And I think a lot of these shenanigans will stop when I accept who I am in this world. So that's the first things first. And then when you go to address a woman, you recognize she's an extension of God, the creator, the universe, or whoever you serve. And then you'll treat that being, because you'll recognize this is not a trophy. This is not another thing. It's 1 to 6. Right. So it's 5 more to go. I can run through that. You recognize this is another expression of God. So we see each other more spiritual at a deeper, intimate level. We won't treat each other, just like things and items.
And that's good. And I think that Deanna, me and you was just talking about that the other day, about how I was saying, yo, I need to take some time to be by myself, right? Because I realized that like emotionally, like I'm poor too, but like emotionally, I know right now I don't have anything to bring to a relationship, right? So I think that, like I was just talking to Deanna on Monday, and I was like, yeah, I really need to take some time to like deal with some of the stuff that's happened,
Excellent.
my life before, I get out there. And I'm sitting here talking about, if you watch my last episode, because I saw you saw the last episode, like you heard me at one point say it during the episode where I'm like, nah, I have been praying heavy in 2020 for a wife, for a wife, for a wife. And then God was just kind of like, bruh, get your life together before you come at me. Like,
Yes.
pretty much what God told me. He's like, yo, get your life together, man.
Yes.
Take your time and get your life together right now because,
Yes.
like, what you want to offer? Like, I mean, you got a couple of things. Like, you got a nice beard, you got a shiny bald head. And you can talk about your addiction stuff. But like, for real, when it hits the fan, if you're not in a healthy space, Maurice, what are you going to bring to her? How are you going to lead her from a space of emotional unhealthiness? So I thank you for sharing that. And you got some good comments. Got to come on. You got to talk about it, focus. And you got to.
Awesome. But and real quick, I gotta tap on that. I can't speed bun over that. First of all, I want to acknowledge you, Maurice, for recognizing that. That's called emotional vampire. When you get in relationships and you drain the other person because emotionally you're not set. And this is what causes bitterness to women. Because someone that's emotionally drained or not fit, they connect themselves to a female and drain the dang on life out of her. And this is why women go, I gave him everything. And what, he married another woman 3 weeks later? This is why they go in and shoot up the church. Because see, I done gave you everything, filled you up, made you believe in yourself, and then you go marry someone else. So that's exactly what I mean, Maurice. Fellas and ladies, we got to do the work first so we are whole, so we are complete and can bring a whole body 100%, not 50-50, but 100% to the relationship so it doesn't drain the other person trying to fill your half a gallon and they already a gallon. So they trying to fill you and keep some from themselves. And it's just hence the unequally yoked that Nicole was talking about.
Nicole, a preacher over there, but she muted, so I ain't gonna mess with her too much.
I am not a preacher.
That's why I wait for Deanna.
My one thing would be this, and I would say it in a couple of ways, but it's still the same thing. The first way I would say it is karma got a mean bite, and it's so real. And I would say that to men. I really want men to know karma got a mean bite on her. I would say it in a different way and say you reap what you sow. And then I would say it in this way. Women were built to carry seed and to birth seed. And so if I combine all those things, karma got a mean bite. You reap what you sow. When you interact with a woman, man, and it is beyond sexual interaction. When you interact with a woman, you are implanting part of yourself into her life, either into her emotional life, into her mental life, into her physical life. You are literally planting seed in her. And I want to know to men, what do you expect that child to look like? What do you want your seed to look like that you planted in this world? You've interacted with these women and maybe you ghosted them, maybe you walked off, maybe you did your thing and it was it. But she was left with seed that she reproduced and it got your face on it. It got your name on it, for real, for real. All that bitterness you talk about she carrying, it looked just like you. It got your face on it. It got your eyes. It got your nose because you were the one who planted that seed. And I hope that men really, really get to see. And that's not even just a man. It's just the way we interact with people and the things that we glean and take from people that we interact with. But I really want men to know it's parts of you that people are carrying throughout their life. When you walked away, you're an absentee father to that bitterness that she carrying. You're an absentee father to that hurt that she got to live with. You're an absentee father, and so you're planting this seed. So I would say to a man, what kind of seed, what kind of babies you trying to birth? What kind of reproduction are you trying to see, put forth? And when you really think of it that way, I think that men will be a lot careful with the type of seeds that they plant.
And I agree. I don't think that men are always thinking long term, right? When you interact with things, and I've been guilty of this myself. I can say to be transparent, where you see someone, she looks good, and she giving me rhythm. I'm taking it, and I'll worry about the future later. Not so I think that sometimes if you sit back and what I've started doing in my older age, I will say is like I'm very heavy on evaluating situations I might get myself into as I've gotten older. So it's like, look, man, I don't care how good you look. I don't care how, I guess, quote unquote, horny I am in the moment. Like, in some situations, I'm just not getting myself into anymore at this age because, like, I don't feel like dealing with that aftermath that you were talking about, Deanna. Some of the future things, and it's just not worth it for momentary pleasure, or momentary relief, or momentary getaway. It's not worth what the long term, what the potential long term ramifications could be from that. Um, and I just wholeheartedly agree with it was what it is that you say. Just take a second and think what it looks like. I think my advice to any of my brothers, who may be watching this is just you gotta you gotta stop it. I mean, like, just stop it. Like, just think about it, man. Like, these are our sisters. Like, like if you saw the episode I had a couple of weeks ago about the gay men, I was saying the same thing. Like these are black sisters, these are fellow black people that were hurting, that were walking all over, because of what? Like, no, with no offense to no one in this chat, like your sex ain't that good, you don't look that good, your treatment ain't that good, and if we aren't working, you're not that impossible to find that I have to expose you to hurt or pain in order to relieve myself or something. So I wasn't insulting you. I saw you curl your face up, Deanna. That wasn't no insult. I was just saying, like, you're not that, like, it's not that great that you should be walking all over this person or holding on to this person or leading this person on or roping them on. Like, none of that is worth it. Like, none of that is worth it because at the end of the day, you end up reproducing with somebody that you know damn well that you don't want to be with. You end up being married with somebody that you know damn well you don't want to be with. You end up with this man cave. You can't talk to nobody when you get home. Then you're working 70-hour work weeks because you don't even want to walk into your own house, all because you weren't honest with your emotions, all because you didn't take the time to heal, all because you weren't honest with her. You paying child support, like you're doing all of this stuff because in a moment you didn't deal with what it was that you need to deal with. You didn't address these feelings. You didn't address that pain. You didn't address that bitterness. You didn't address the fact that you grew up without a mom or without a dad in your life. You didn't address none of that stuff. So now you're like this grown man, completely misguided grown man. And unfortunately, like I said, one thing I commend women on, like, you guys talk. Like, we don't talk. Like, men, we don't talk. So you guys talk. You guys talk about emotions and things like that. Like, all we do is share each other on. I was saying that on my last episode, like, I was having a moment of vulnerability a few weeks ago, and one of my closest friends, I love him to death. I do love him to death for real. But like, he was like, man, just go call another girl. And I'm like, bro, that's not what I need. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what I want. I just so happen to be in a state where I recognize that, there are some people who have entire circles who's just like a getting girls contest. I got this girl today. Oh, I met this girl today. Oh, I just met this girl this day. Like, bro, you gotta stop that stuff. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. There's no one woman that's worth the amount of pain that you're gonna want expose yourself to and to expose her to. It's just not worth it. So that would be my advice to any male watching, or any male in general. Um, Excuse my language, guys. I told you I wasn't going to curse, so I done dropped a few bombs. Go
No,
ahead,
you're
Deanna.
fine. And I think that speaks to what I believe like Focus was touching on as well is that it's and this is one of my issues. I'm a church girl at heart, the whole nine. I love me some Jesus. But one of the things I found even with that journey is that people find it hard because everybody tells you what you can't do. And it's hard to make that decision because I'm gonna have to stop doing this. I'm gonna have to stop doing this. I'm gonna have to stop doing this. And I think if we approach men and as not so much from the angle of you need to stop doing this, you need to stop doing this, and start giving them incentives to start doing this instead. Start doing this instead. Start, seeking help. Start touching back on your emotions. Start tapping back into the little boy and find out when you were hurt and find out where you were because it's easy to say just stop. But just stop doesn't address the why. Why am I doing this? Why is he acting this way? Why is he approaching? And we're not dealing with the whys. And I think men need. I appreciate your platform, Maurice, my brother. I think that men need a space to identify their whys. Why am I acting this way? Where did this behavior come from? Where did this ideology come from? What am I really seeking? What am I really trying to feel in myself when I do this way, do these things? And now, because I haven't addressed that, it all blows up, and now she's bitter, now she's hurt, now she's angry, now she's broken. And I don't even know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think a lot of men don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. I think that they need to tap into that. I think they need space to become. I think that men need space to become.
Yeah, and then again, it's just tough because there are a lot of emotionally unhealthy men out here. Period. Like of all ages. So it's like emotionally unhealthy men are raising and breeding more emotionally unhealthy men. Like I remember, I grew up from the hood. I don't hide that. I was in the hood. I just remember being outside one day. I had to be in like college maybe. And I was walking home from class. And there was this kid. This kid had to be like 7. And he walked by, and this older guy who's probably like in his mid-20s was like, "Yo, young boy, you ugly." And the boy was like, "Well, I get girls though." This is a 7-year-old boy that responded like that. Like, what are we teaching these kids? Like, what are we doing out here? Like, why is that okay? Like, if you're 20 something, 30 something, why are you even saying that to a 7-year-old? Like, calling him ugly? Like, you should be building him up, tell him that he looks good, tell him that he's handsome. Like, what are we doing out here? Like, all right, I'm about to rant again. Nicole, you want to say something? I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I did because she was preaching, but for like seriously, I think it's very important. I put the charge on women as well to encourage our men to, really figure out what is going on inside of them that causes them to act this way. Go deep down into that little boy and find out what happened to that little boy to cause that little boy, who's still the little boy, right, in this grown man's body to do the things that he is doing. My last relationship, it ended because of infidelity, and I definitely was like, you need therapy. Like, you're doing the same thing over and over and over. You're repeating the same cycle in the same manner, in the same way. That means that it's not something that you want to do. It's something that's inside of you causing you to do that because you're seeking something. Go to therapy. I will help you. I will help you go to therapy. I will help you find a therapist. I will help you through your therapy process. And it's important to really find out what's going on. And like Deanna was saying, men in particular are not encouraged to speak out. They're not encouraged to express themselves. And so these things that are happening, they're expressing themselves in other ways, right? They're not able to say, I'm hurting, or I'm sad, or that hurt me, or that made me feel some type of way. They're not able to do that because growing up, they're like, be quiet. You can't cry. You can't do this. They're not able to express their emotions. So this is now in turn how they're expressing themselves through cheating, through hurting other women, through spilling, like Focus says, spilling, that hurt and that trauma onto other people. So I would definitely encourage women to encourage our men to, it's okay to express yourself, and it's okay to, talk about what has happened so that you can move forward from it.
Yeah, and to
I
piggyback off of that, gentlemen, like we gotta call each other out, guys. Like we gotta stop celebrating people who womenizing men.
that
And we
part.
got like so that's part of the issue, right? Because like you'll trash the guy who says he wants to settle down and be with one woman and not cheat, but celebrate the dude that's womanizing. Like we gotta do better than that, man. Like, and that's my challenge to you guys as a man. Like you see your bud, your homie messing up, call him out. Tell him about himself. Don't cover up for his lies. Like when I used to be out there, my brother, he would tell me, like, yo, don't use me as no alibi. Like in the moment I would be
Exactly.
annoyed, but like as I look back now, I respect it. He was like, look, if you gonna go out and cheat, don't tell him that
Exactly.
you I'm snitching on you. Like, I respect that. Like, and that's my blood brother. I love him to death. You watching. I love you, Mill, and I appreciate you for that. So like we just gotta do that more like on a grander scale. Like, that's not okay.
Yes.
Like, you have a good woman. Like, don't do that. Like, don't act like that. don't do that. And I agree with you, Nicole. I'm glad that you gave the challenge to women as well to create that safe space as well, because I do think that there are some women who believe that men are supposed to be this way, right? So like it's such a big problem. Like there's a woman that who believe that we're supposed to be emotionless and we're not supposed to express ourselves. So if the man who's willing to do that engages with a woman who's not open to receiving that communication, then he shuts
That's
down
right.
again. So it's
Yeah.
such a big issue. I mean, I swear we could
It's
probably
it's
spend the
really
rest of the night
it's so
talking about it.
layered. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's so layered
Hmm.
because I coach men too in relationships, and most of the men that come to me is because they can't talk to their female. They female see them as soft if they try to open up, right? And he's wondering, if I really share my emotions, will I be a man in the morning? Will she still accept me for being the king, that I am? And that's one of the challenges, men. Can you guys hear me or no?
No,
You're
I hear
good.
you. I'm like
You're
like
good.
Yeah.
my
Oh,
brother.
okay. Okay.
My brother going to time and talking about I didn't say I'd snitch on you. He said I
and
did
have
say
and
don't use
having
me.
that set and having that village that will hold you accountable is necessary. So anybody under the sound of my voice, I'm gonna offer tonight myself a 30-minute consultation as a relationship coach. You can go to focusjames.com and schedule it. Let me know you met me here, you heard me here. So like and share this. You have a man, you have a female in your mind that you already know that's hurting, that's in pain. Go ahead and send them my information and I'll donate that 30 minutes to get them started to having this conversation. And then it's so necessary to create your village. I'm sorry, fellas. I'm sorry, ladies. Some people we going to have to cut off. Some people we can't have in our circle if we're trying to go to the other side of healing. I had a specific girlfriend. We could bust it up about anything, our children. But when it came to men, she was so bitter. I knew not to bring up dating with her because by the time I was done, I'd be depressed talking to her. Right. So we gotta protect our portals. We gotta get in front of people that's going to mirror us because iron sharpens iron. And Maurice, that's what that young man was doing for you. He's like, I'm not gonna be a part of your shenanigans because back to what Deanna said, karma ain't no joke. Because you will reap what you sow. Oprah can't buy a way out of it, and a bum can't lay down long enough. You will reap what you sow.
And that's real. And again, guys, that's Focus James. You can follow her on Instagram right there at the Focus of Love. Find her on Facebook. She got 7 million friends on Facebook, so I don't think you can add her, but you got to look her up and like the fan page because that's the famous Focus James right there. I'm glad I got in. I was like number 5,000. I was for number 5,000, so I'm in it. But y'all might be on the outside looking in. But you do got a fan page that you got to go ahead and
Yes.
like at Focus James. So
Yes.
um yeah, and like I said, she's giving away, what'd you say, a 30-minute
30-minute session. That's exactly right. You get a 30-minute session, whatever topic you want to bring in, let's bust it up. This is a safe place. I've been trained in so many different ways. My first degree is in early child education. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm here to create a safe space where you can be right where you are, where there's no judgment. It's just enlightenment.
that's good. Nicole, I see you got a little Journey. Hey, Journey. um, how can
Oh, so
That's all she
precious.
wants to do.
So precious. And Deanna had her hand up too, Maurice.
go ahead, Deanna.
I want to encourage. I know that this is, her story. That's the episode, but I do want to encourage any brothers that are watching now or maybe watching the replay is that who you are right now doesn't have to be who you are tomorrow. And you definitely possess the ability to change and to be better and to evolve. And I think so many people at times, especially men, you feel stuck in who you are because you've been this way for so long. But today is a day of change. And I really want to see, I love men, okay? Let me tell you, I love men. Love them, love them, love them.
I don't think I
And I
love them the
really,
same way you do, but I do love my brothers as well.
you don't love them like I do, boo. You don't love them like I do. But I want to men love themselves. And I believe that Focus touched on this as well. I know how broken my ex is
Mm.
because of the way that he broke me. And then that breaks me knowing how broken he is. Because when I love real, okay? And so I love him so much, even if I have accepted the fact that our relationship isn't healthy for my life. I love him so much and I want to see him better. And I want men to know that you are worthy of love. Genuine, real love. And that love starts with God and it starts with you. That chick, no matter how good she look, how blue her hair is, and how pink her lips are, is not going to fulfill the love that you really, really are craving. You're really craving God and self-love. And I believe when you get to the point where when you are a fly guy, fearlessly loving yourself, you will see how your relationships with women and with other people in general, but with women in particular, will begin to change. And I think that actually goes for women too. For the woman who's on here who's been broken, heartbroken by some broken man, today is your day to begin healing and give yourself grace to grieve, give yourself grace to hurt, give yourself grace to forgive yourself for accepting and allowing and not putting up the boundaries that were needed, and then give yourself grace to grow and grace to evolve and become better. There is another version of you that is waiting to bust out of the cocoon, boo. It's another version of you waiting to fly, but you have to give yourself grace to go through the process.
But your Deanna be preaching. I tell y'all, man, like there be some preachers on this show. Um, and Deanna, one of them. Nicole, any final thoughts?
Nope.
I know Journey
Like,
over
no.
there.
I know. No, I mean, Deanna really, she really hit it on the head as well as Focus. They really, put the nail in the coffin. Like it really, at the end of the day, hurt people, right? And so we all have an onus to make ourselves better. And we all have a responsibility to heal our hurt so that we're not continuing the cycle of hurt amongst innocent people. So that's my final thought of the day. I just want everybody, including myself, I'm still going through the healing process, right? And I think the longest stop on that road is feeling that hurt, because none of us want to feel it, right? So we continue to run from it until we got to run back, and run from it until we got to run back. So I want everybody to realize that it's a process. That's exactly what it is. And you got to be patient with yourself. And you're going to mess up. 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 But it's a process. And know that as long as you're continuing to work towards that process, we're not perfect, but we should strive to be perfect. And that's the purpose of us being here. And so we need to, continue to work on our healing so that we can help others heal as well.
That was good. And she broke out the little accent there. That's Nicole. You can find her on Instagram.
Oh my God, I got like thousands of accents. I don't live everywhere.
That's Nicole Scott. You can find her on Instagram at NMS Family Law. She's an amazing family law lawyer. So any family law needs you might need contact her. She's dope. She's like one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I told her that I can say it on the air because I tell her that to her face all the time. Well, to her virtual. Listen, guys. This is the end of season 1, guys. So I thank you guys for joining me. We're gonna take 6 weeks off. I got you. We're gonna take 6 weeks off after this, and we will be back on January 13th. I'm going to be back with actually my good brother who's in the comments right here, AB Bracewell. The episode will be Healing 101. And I think that is a real good thing to kick it off. We're going to talk about, because we say heal. It came up a lot in this episode, right? Heal. Take some time and heal. Take some heal. Yes. But it's going to be Healing 101. Like, what does that look like, right? Because I think you tell people to heal all the time, but we never talk about what that looks
the process.
Like. Mm-hmm. So me and him are going to go up there. He's a relationship therapist. He done wrote 2 books about healing, and I'm going to pick that brother brain. It's really, really, really looking forward to that. Focus, I know you had your giveaway that you want to do.
I do. I want to give my book to 3 men. So 3 men, I want you can message me directly. Matter of fact, any man that messages me, you can go to Facebook and message me at Focus James and go, Focus, I want a copy. The name of this book is called What is the Focus of Love? Because what you focus on expands. And we want to shift that conversation from cheering on negative behavior to shift it to that first love and respect for yourself, gentlemen. And I want to be there for you and help you in that process. So I'm going to donate this. It'll be in the ebook form. It's called What is the Focus of Love? Is having clarity, living your purpose, creating the love you want, and having the life you love. I wrote this book in 90 days after coming out and getting certified as a public speaker. And the Les Brown was there and he charged me. He said, Focus, your story is so powerful. People need to take you home. So when a millionaire tell you to do something, you ought to do it. So I wrote this book in 90 days and really just talked about that process that Maurice just said. How do we heal? How do we love? How do we address ourselves? How do we communicate powerfully so we can get our love bucket filled up so we can actually fill other people's love buckets? So you can go ahead and message me at Focus James and I'll email this to you. Give me your email address. Let me know you saw me here on this live and it will be of no charge for you. All the gentlemen in the house. So whether it's on replay or live, you can definitely still get a copy.
Yep, and that's amazing. And guys, when Facebook start letting me post in 2 days from now, I'm going to share this on my page. I'm going to share the YouTube link. So when Facebook lets me post again, like, man, I'll tell y'all a story before I let y'all go, man. This week has been so pressing. I got restricted. Deanna was running late. Focus got restricted. Nicole had some.
I've never got that.
And I'm sitting there like, Joe, like, either somebody's really going to get healed from this, or God don't want me to do it. And now that I'm at the end of it, I'm like, somebody going to get healed from this.
That's like, right.
Watch it and they're going to get their healing from this. So ladies, I really thank you for taking the time to join me and talk to me. You guys are amazing. Really, really, really amazing. Like I said, this is we got to do a part 2 at some point if y'all okay with it.
Would love to. Yeah.
And thank you guys. Just thank you so much, man. It's 8:45, so I'm not going to keep my viewers or you guys any longer. You guys just have a great evening, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank